first of all, I want to ask you a question. Have any of you heard of something called the sine rule before, or maybe you've started doing it in your class already? If you have started doing it or you've heard of it, give a thumbs up in the chat. If you haven't, if you've never heard of the sine rule, give us a thumbs down in the chat. Okay, so if you've never heard of the sine rule, thumbs down. If you have heard of it, or you've at least started a class, give us a thumbs up. Okay. So it's mostly not, but there are a few students who have heard of it. Okay. That's helpful, guys. Keep those messages coming in. So today's lesson is going to be based around this thing called the sine rule. And what the sine rule allows us to do is find unknown sides or unknown angles in particular triangles. And so that's really what the majority of the lesson is going to be about. At Watobe, we have two classes. You're currently in the foundations class that runs from 5 to 6. And then there's another class that runs from 6 to 7, which is running at a slightly quicker pace and covering more, whereas this is more about the foundation of everything. Okay. And then in lessons 1 and 2, what we did was we did basically grade 10 trigonometry. So SOHCAHTOA, that was lesson 1. And then lesson 2 was something called the area rule. And so today we are going to be talking about something called the sine rule. So especially if you missed the first 2 lessons, I hope that helps you feel a little bit connected. Okay, let's see the sine rule in action. Let's go straight to the question over here. And what I want to start with is I want to ask you or say to you, if I wanted to find the length of this side over here, I want to know from you, maybe someone's brave enough, or you can put this in the chat, why is this, how would you do this? Or what problems would you run into if you try to find that length C?
Mr. East, we have a question from Ntombi.
Ntombi, okay. Hi, Ntombi. I'm asking you to unmute. You can unmute.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Very good. And you, Ntombi?
I'm fine, and you?
Very good.
I'm good. Yeah.
What's your question?
I don't exactly have a question. I just wanted to log in.
Okay, perfect. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, what I want to explain to you first is I'm going to show you how we would use the sine rule to solve for this unknown side over here. Now, it's going to feel a little bit like magic at first, but for now, all I'm going to do is show you the process, and then you're going to repeat this rule to me. And then once you've got a feel for how to use it, then we'll talk a little bit about why it's worked so well. Okay, so first of all, if I look at this triangle, this is not a right angle triangle. There's no 90 degrees involved here. And because there is no 90-degree angle involved, the problem is SOHCAHTOA will not work. And so because SOHCAHTOA will not work, we need a new tool to use. And then Lebo, could I just ask you to hit mute all for now, just so that we have reasonable, sort of not too loud in the background. Okay, so how do we use this miraculous thing called the sine rule? So what we do is we write down the side we want to find, C, and we divide by the sine of the angle that is opposite that C. So I want you to tell me in the chat, what is the angle that is opposite the side C? Pop it in the chat for me. Okay, it's going to be 75 degrees. Yes, Tobikile. So the way the sine rule works is we say the side we want to find divided by the sine of the angle opposite that. Notice how it's opposite, but it doesn't stop there. Then we need to find another pair of sides and angles, and we have to always write, well, one of the ways of doing it is if we start by finding a side, but then we have to write a side up here. And so I'm going to go to this 13 down here. Now, what is the angle that is opposite the side with a value of 13? I want you to put that in the chat. Okay, 41. So what the sine rule says is we then write 13 is divided by the sine of 41. And it's literally that simple, guys. And what the sine rule allows us to do is it gives us a tool to find an unknown side that in grade 10 we would not have known how to do. Now, we haven't got the final answer yet, so we still need to get that. And the final answer is to get C by itself. And so I need to move the sine of 75 across. Because it's a division on this side, it will become a multiplication on the other side. And we're going to get 13 over the sine of 41 was already there, but it's just going to be times the sine of 75. Now, I want you to put that in your calculator, and I want you to see what you get. I'm going to do the same. I've got my calculator, so we go 13 divided by the sine of 41, and then we say times the sine of 75. And I want to see what you guys get. Let's see in the chat what you guys get. Kanisa, I see your answer. Okay, be careful. So I get 19.14, and I'm just going to say units. So if you've made a little mistake there, maybe you didn't execute this in the correct order. Sometimes you'll also see it written like this. So some textbooks will write it like this: 13 sine 75 divided by sine 41. And that means exactly the same thing. And so maybe some of you might be able to key it in a little bit more like that. Okay, so what's the important rule that we need to know going forward? Basically, the sine rule is just you write down the side, then you divide it by the sine of the angle opposite that. And then what you do is you find another pair and you write down another side on top and you divide it by the sine of the angle opposite that one. Give me a thumbs up if you feel like you understand the basic idea. You still need to practice it, but the basic idea is clear to you. Okay, so it's almost like what I'm doing is I'm showing you how to use a particular type of screwdriver. You've tried it out, and now you're going to, use the screwdriver all by yourself. Okay. So in the second question, actually, let me take a moment. If you want to take a screenshot, you can take a screenshot now. And then I'm going to move on to the second question of the lesson. Okay. Second question is this. I want you to try and use a similar idea. And in this case, I want you to find, okay, there's one slight little, what am I going to ask you to find? Okay, I'm going to be helpful here. Before I ask you to do the question, I want you to tell me, how do I find this unknown angle here? I think it would be helpful if I knew what that angle was. What do I need to do to find that angle? To find angle C.
Piwe has an answer, Mr. S.
Okay, so Piwe, tell me, what do I need to do? Okay, I think it's not unmuting at the moment.
Yeah. Whatsapping also raised his hand. Oh,
Okay.
but now he put it down.
Okay. So guys, what we're going to do is to get angle C, we go 180 minus 71 minus 42. So 180 minus 71 minus 42. And that gives us 67 degrees. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a help by saying this is 67 degrees. Now, what I want you to try and do is I want you to try and write down the sine rule where you start with the length A. And I want you to try and figure out what is in each of these missing pieces. And then I want you to try and find what A is for me. Okay, over to you guys. See if you can use the sine rule to find the side A. Zotile, I see you got the answer. Fantastic. And then while we're working, if anybody would like to raise their hand now, while students are trying to get to the answer, now is a great time to raise your hand if you want to ask a question or you're just unsure of something. Are there any questions? So I'm going to suggest that these two are the first pair that I'm going to look at. And then what is the other pair that I'm looking for? Remember, there's these pairs that I need to use when I use the sine rule. So I was thinking, surely these two sides are going to be involved. And because we started with the side on the top, we start with a side there. So, and now what is going to be opposite that? It's going to be the sine of 67. Now we have to find what this A value is. And I see some students are putting some answers in. Now, what I need to do is I need to bring the sine of 71 across to the other side. And because it's division on this side, it becomes multiplication on this side. And it becomes 15 times the sine of 71 over the sine of 67. And then to get my, who would like to, actually, let me do this one for you guys this time. So 15 times the sine of 71 divided by the sine of 67. And you should get 15.41 units. So if I'm looking at the sine rule, to me, it looks like the sine rule means I always need pairs of sides and angles. And so that's what I really want to practice today, is just this idea that you need a side and then you need the sine of the angle opposite that. Okay, that's looking good, guys. Fantastic. Let's try another one. Actually, let me give you a moment. Take a screenshot now, and then give me a thumbs up if you're feeling good. Give me a thumbs down if I'm going a little bit too fast for you. I just want to get a feel for the class. And be honest. If I'm going too fast, give a thumbs down. If you're feeling good, thumbs up. Okay. Take a screenshot if you need to, and then let's move on. All right. So for the initial part of the lesson, I'm going to ask you now, find me the length of the side E. Notice, guys, that there is no 90-degree angle here. In grade 9 or 10, if you had to do this, you'd be lost. However, because of this new tool that we're introducing, you have a tool for the job. So find me the length of side E. Over to you. Shine brightly. And then for those students who are feeling a bit like they want to have a bit of a conversation or they want to ask a question, I'm going to encourage you to raise your hand now. And then we can have a bit of a chat. And then Lebo, anything important, Lebo, from you that's from the chat that maybe?
No, not yet, Mr. S.
Okay. Fantastic. I'm just going to give some hints as to which sides and which angles are in relationship. I think those two would be would be good partners. And so what I always do is I start with the something that I want. I want E. And so I write that first. And then according to the sine rule, I should write the sine of the angle opposite that. But now if I just finished there, I'd be stuck. So I need a combination that has a side, and the only other side in this question is the 7. So I write that down. And then I write the sine of 54. Now, what is my final answer for E going to be? Give you a little bit more time because you have to deal with this. To get the E by itself, you have to deal with the sine 67. So I think when I bring the sine 67, it's going to become a multiplication on this side. So it's 7 times this over this. And then I want to see a few more students put their answer in the chat. It's looking good. So what's the final answer? 7 times the sine of 67. And we do indeed get 7.96. And that's going to be units or centimeters. Okay. So I think we've got the basic idea of the sine rule. And if you're unsure, I really encourage you to carry on asking questions, but really that's all it is, guys. Now, why it works is that what the sine rule is doing is it's basically finding the height of the triangle from 2 different sides, and then it's putting that together. But for our purposes for today, we don't need to go into ridiculous detail. Okay, so what are we going to do? I'm going to give you these 2 questions, and then we will take a little break. So for everyone in the class, I want you to try and find for me the length of X in question A. And then I want you to try and find the length of X in question B as well. And so I'm handing that over to you. While you're working on that, I want those students who are unsure, I want you to raise your hand, and I'd love to have a conversation, almost talk through the question with you. But for those students who feel comfortable and just want to practice, let's have you do these 2 questions and find me the value of X in both of them. But I'd love to help a student who just wants to have a quick conversation. Sometimes that's all it's needed. Or maybe someone can come online and just give us a hint. Maybe someone can tell us, if someone's brave enough, just to tell us how to get started. What would you start with? If someone's willing to share that. Where would you start if you were doing this question? Okay, Rafiwa, I see you've got some answers coming in. Would you like to, Rafiwa, just tell us where you started? Would you like to come on and just tell us, like, when you think through this question, how do you start your writing it down? Would you be willing to come on? Or maybe Susanna, if you just raise your hand and tell us how you started.
I think they're a bit shy.
No problem. So I was thinking, I start by writing down the thing I want to find. And then
we have Suzanne.
Oh, okay. Where's Suzanne? We unmute Suzanne? Susanna? If you could unmute her, if she's
Oh, Susanna put her hand down, Mr. East.
okay.
Oh, there she is.
I'm here.
Hi.
Okay.
Talk
So
us through
I
the
said,
yeah.
okay. So I said x over sine 48,
Okay.
which will equal to 23 over sine 37.
Okay.
So then to cancel and get x alone, I times each side by sine 48.
Okay. So you times both sides and it knocked out the one on the left. So you
Yeah.
just got that. And then
And the notes, I said x equals 23 over sine 37
okay, let me do
times
it.
sine 48.
So sometimes people will write it like this.
And then I got my answer of
You got your final answer.
28,40. Yes.
So let me just check I get the same, but I think that sounds awesome. Thank you, Susanna. I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge with us. So I get 28.40, which everyone else in the chat seems to be getting. So that would be centimeters. And then who would like to come on and help us with B? Anybody's tell us they're thinking for B. My MO has said, I think we start with X, the opposites.
Lee is volunteering.
Okay, Lee, I'm going to unmute you. Give us the guidance for this next one.
Oh, hello, sir.
Hey,
Of course, we have to start with what we're solving for, right? Which is going to be x over sine 115,
perfect. Yeah.
which equals 11 sine 48, if I'm not mistaken.
You are on fire. Yes. And then the
And
final
then
step.
times both sides, because we wanna get x alone, so we times both sides by sine 115.
Yeah. So this is the one that's in the way. And so we times
Yes.
both sides by that, and we get 11 times the sine of 115 over the
Yes.
sine of 48. And what was your final answer?
The final answer is 13.42.
Okay, let me just check that, but it sounds good. 11 times sine of 115 divided by the sine of 48. I get 13.42. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So the good news is, guys, once you've got this new tool in your toolkit and you've got the right combination of information, this is actually easy marks in the bag. And so I suppose what we need to think of is, when is it the right tool to use? What do we need? And what we really need is we need 3 bits of information. So that's what I want to finish the first half of the lesson about, is if you have a missing side, what you need in order to use the sine rule is you need the angle opposite that side, and then you need another side in that triangle, and then you need the angle opposite that side. So it's almost like you always need 3 of the 4 pieces of information. Now, sometimes, like we saw earlier, you can work out a missing angle if you need to, which we did earlier. And so sometimes if you don't have the right angle, you may need to do that. Okay. So again, give us, because the class is a bit different today, I just want to give you a chance to almost give some feedback in the middle of the lesson. So thumbs up if the pace is good, thumbs down if I'm going too fast. And then we'll find our happy place as we go. Okay, fantastic. All right, so what do we do halfway through the lesson? What we're going to do is we are going to stand up and stretch. And Ms. Lebo, if you could help me identify those students who are really shining brightest, I would love you to turn your camera on and just show us your favorite stretch. Because we know if we just sit, our brains are not happy. And so I am going to do a calf stretch, and I would love to see some other students just stretching it out for a second, and your brain will pay you back with interest later in the lesson, I promise. Okay, this is a good transaction to do.
Come on,
Maya,
guys.
I want
Get in on
to
the
see you
stretch.
shine. Let's see some stretching.
Oh, we have Mobile stretching.
Bernarda is looking good there.
Vitaro.
And I'm just roll the shoulders, guys. Just roll the shoulders. Just roll the shoulders. Okay. Your body
Titato's
will
getting
thank
there.
There we go.
Refilwe, Zinande. Loving it, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, Dombi. Join us in the stretch.
Let's take that stress from the day and just let it melt away for a second. Just roll those shoulders.
Give your body a little break. Cameron's doing a good job.
I like that smile in Tombi. I like it. Okay.
William, leg two. Love it, guys.
Gee, now you are shining brightly. This is fantastic. Okay. Now that we've given our brains a little bit of a break, we're going to try something for fun in the middle of the lesson. And so what we do is I give you this little equation puzzle, and I want you to work out what is the answer to this little thing at the bottom here. So what is a cat plus a lion plus a chicken? And these are your clues. And so over to you guys to just give that a go. I'll watch the chat to see what you can get. I want to see, can you solve this puzzle? And who will the glory go to?
I think, yeah, 20, oh, right, kid, yeah.
Sorry, guys, if you'd like to say.
Sorry, I think I muted you. Sorry.
I know it's okay, Mr. S. Guys, if you'd like to say something, please put your hand up first.
Yeah. So we'll just use, what we'll do is we'll use the mute all setting level, and then as students want to raise their hands, we unmute them. I think that's the best way to go. Okay. All right. So I see Rafiwe is leading us. Susanna is telling us, I think everyone is realizing that the cat, or the little kitty cat, must be 20. And so then what is the rather friendly looking lion going to be? Okay. So let's see who else has a. So it has to almost be, think of this as an equation, guys. If you've got minus 20 on one side, if you add 20 to both sides, you're going to get basically a 64 on this side and 2 lions on this side. So what if 2 lions give you 64, what does each lion need to be? And I think it's going to mean each line is 32. So that's 32. And that's 32. So think about that, because 32 plus 32 is 64. And then minus 20 is 44. Okay, so what's the chicken? And then what's the final answer going to be? I was going to say, don't be a chicken, but in this case, you want to be a chicken. So I see that Nolotando is quite correct. Each chicken is 30. And so what is our final answer going to be? It's 20 plus 32 plus 30. And I see that the class is agreeing with me that the answer is 82. That's how much you get if you have a kitten, a lion, and a chicken. Okay. Well done, Zanada. Well done, Zotile. You are on the money. Okay, guys. Yes.
Can you please lower your camera?
I can. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ledlo. Okay, so second part of the lesson. Let's go back to where we were. And now I'm going to give you a multiple choice question. And I want you to look at the question on the board. And I want you to vote as to which of the 4 options you think is correct. And it all looks kind of similar, so you have to look carefully. So I suppose based on what we've been doing, I'd start with that. although maybe there's other ways of doing it. And I guess I'd pair that one up with that one there. Now, what other side would I have to pair? I think I'd have to pair up. I'd have to use this one because I know it, which means it goes with that. And which side is going to be correct? So I see in the chat lots of answers coming through. And I agree that x over the sine of 54 looks good. 12 over the sine of 102 looks good. Now, why is it not the other ones? Well, you can see that these don't match properly. That doesn't match properly. We know that the 102 needs to go inside that. Yeah, those just don't make sense. And so the correct option is C. Well done. I see lots of C's. In fact, yeah, I think you've got this. Well done, guys. Well done. Okay, let's do another one since you were so good at that one. Take it up a notch. Which of the following is a correct rearrangement of this equation? So you're given the sine rule first step. You now need to find what it looks like when you isolate the x by itself. So just take a moment to look. There's not a huge rush. Think through it. And then when you're ready, you can put the answer in the chat. There's a lot of information going on there, so be careful. Okay, I was thinking back to the lesson where we always had to deal with the sine of 54. And then I'm really looking to find where it stays. It's almost like this part I know has to stay the same. And I'm expecting the sine of 54 to pop up on this side. All right. So it's definitely not going to be this one. It's not that one. It's definitely not that one. Which is C. Yes. Well done. You guys are smashing it. In fact, you're doing so well. We might run out of material. We'll see. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you're feeling good. Thumbs down if you're feeling a bit meh. Just so I can get a feel for the group. Okay. Now this next one, I'm going to ask for someone to be brave enough to explain or just maybe even just pop up your answer. Okay, see what you can get. I'm not going to say anything for now. Find me the correct answer for this one. And if anybody feels brave enough, put your hand up and tell me what your answer is live. I'd love to hear your voice. Explain to me how you got the answer. Okay, I see some hands going up. I'm going to pick someone now, but let's just give a little bit of time. And then I'm going to come to you, Lee. So I'm going to unmute you. Which option do you think it is?
Sir, I choose option C.
Okay. If I look at this question, P divided by the sine of 32 looks good. And
Yes.
then you went 21 divided by the sine of 95.
Sine 90. Yes.
You are winning. C is the
Thank
correct
you.
answer. Well done, guys.
Sorry, Mr. S, I muted you by mistake.
I'm aware of that things are going well, but I just want to give a chance. If anybody wants to ask a question or even in the chat, let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to take it up a notch because I feel like you guys have got this. Okay. All right. Let us, let's skip that one because it's too easy for now. I want you guys to find me the size. the length of angle X. So I'm not going to say anything because this is a little bit trickier. And I want you to find me the length of side X. Over to you guys. And Lebo, I feel like our students are ready to fly. They don't need us anymore.
Yes. They're too smart for this.
Maybe, yeah. We must be doing okay. So grab some water while they're working. And then, yeah, if you do want to ask a question, now is a good time because obviously I'm free. So for any student who can maybe give us a hint, I'd love to get a hint as to how to start this question. Not the whole answer. I just wanted to see if anybody will come online and just give us a little hint as to what's the key step that you need to, I just need a little hint from someone.
Mr. S, can we ask
Yeah.
William?
Yeah. Hey, William, what little hint am I looking for? I'm going to ask you to unmute. So you'll see a little box. Hi, William.
Hi.
What's the little hint?
So in order to solve this problem, we first need to find the angle opposite to 20 centimeters, or to the side of.
Exactly. And what is that, or how do you get that?
You say 180 degrees minus 40 minus 46.
Perfect. And then you should give, what did you get for that answer, William?
The angle that's missing, or the whole answer?
The angle that's missing. Yeah, well, yeah, the whole answer to 180 minus 40 minus 46.
I got 94 degrees.
Perfect. That's exactly right. And so just, William, one thing to watch out for is that you do want to give a reason in this case. So you would just say sum of angles in triangle. Thank you, William. I think once students have got that, now it becomes much easier again.
I think.
Cool. Okay, so let's see. What is the answer for this question now? I want to see in the chat. So since William's helped me with that angle, I think I'm going to write, I want X. So I'm going to write that down first. Now what's opposite the X? It's the 46. So the sine of 46. It's this thing over here. And then we're going to get the side 20 over the sine of 94. And that's why we had to do that hard work with William before we could answer the question. And then the final answer should be bringing this, basically dealing with the sine of 46 here. And if I bring that across, if I multiply both sides by sine 46, I should then get 20 over sine 94, and then times the sine of 46. And the answer that I get equals that times the sine of 46. You should get 14.42. And that is 14.42 units. Awesome. Okay, I didn't see any questions in the comments, so I'm going to assume that everyone is mostly feeling okay with this. And if you now need to take a screenshot, do that. Otherwise, I'm going to try and find you one that is a bit trickier to finish off the lesson. Okay. All right, moving on. I think this is still too easy for you guys. So let me look at, let's have a look here. That's also too easy. Okay, let's try and do this one. Let's do a multiple choice one. Which of these 4 options is going to give you the length of the side B? So you can choose A, B, C, or D, and I'm looking for the little side B. You have to look carefully because they all look kind of similar. Which of these 4 options do you think is going to be the correct option here? So I'm going to carry on with what I was doing earlier, where I go, I know the first part is like that. And then I'm thinking, that should be statement number 1. Now, is there any option that looks like that? No. But we know if we deal with this bit, we could probably get closer. And so when you bring this across, what's going to happen is that it's basically going to be here. And is there any option that looks like that? 5 times the sine of 56 times the sine of 80. And I want to suggest that it is option B. All right. And if I look at the chat, I see that that is predominantly what you guys have chosen. Okay, so time to bring the lesson to a bit of a close. And so I'm going to do a bit of a preview of the next lesson. And I'm also going to do a poll to see how you guys felt about today. So what did we learn today? We learned how to use the sine rule to find a missing side in a triangle. But that triangle, what was different about today compared to grade 10 is that we didn't need right angled triangles. None of our triangles today had a 90 degree in them. And so this new tool is very flexible. It works for 90 degree triangles, but it works for all different types of triangles. And so that's one thing I want to point out. Now, in the next lesson, we're going to use the sine rule to find unknown angles. So notice how today we only found sides. You can also use the sine rule to find angles. And so that's what we're going to do in the next lesson.